White Belt Weekly, dropping facts like confetti. Step into the mat, battle mode, staying steady. Break down the takedown,
This
guard
is
game
White
deadly.
Belt Weekly.
Shuffle quick, motherfucker named Eddie. Chatting about the legends, cage wars, epic grits, tighter than a python, move so electric.
What's up, everybody? It's Daddy / Richard from Panda MMA News. I'm recording for White Belt Weekly. We are going to give our picks, and we have two exclusive interviews coming up for you guys. We have Jacob Romero, aka Urkel, and we also have my boy Ryan Parker. But we'll get to those. I'm going to go through these and give you guys my picks. There's one thing I do have to touch on though. MMA Guru. This guy is he's a piece of shit. If you didn't already know, MMA Guru is a piece of shit. So I'm going to pull up his page right now and show you why. All right, so if you guys see my screen here, this is a tweet from Nina, and I'll read this to you guys, but we'll start with the MMA Guru. He tweeted, "Honestly, so disrespectful, the UFC cameraman at the UFC 307 press conference to be like, nah, you guys got to see this in the middle of her question. Honestly, pathetic and not funny behavior." He used this as an opportunity to make fun of Photo Amy right here for her appearance. If you watch his most recent video, he makes a joke about her being John Morgan after a sexual transition. He's a piece of shit. I'm with Nina here. This is what she says. "I've been keeping my mouth shut about this clout-chasing vermin since I started in the UFC, and he hasn't been able to keep my name out of his mouth, crying about me like a little bitch on the internet. But for Amy, I had to speak up. I may not be everybody's cup of tea. I might be cringe and annoying, and I don't shy away from using my assets for views. They're a great set, and I will use every tool at my disposal without actually desecrating myself for success in my career. But that doesn't make me an indecent human," which is what you like to allude to as of late. This is what makes you an indecent and despicable. So much so that I had to say something. This is the reason why you will never make it out of the stale basement doing internet interview calls for the rest of your life, prostituting yourself for donations that don't even cover a premium Zoom account. There's a reason why you had to take on the role of the heel on the backside of the MMA media industry, and it's because you're a rude, vile, ignorant, dusty, pathetic troll that causes more problems than you're worth. Trust me, everyone at the UFC knows who you are because of all the rumors and lies you spread for clicks and views. You owe Photo Amy an apology, and while you're at it, apologize to yourself for turning out less than human and excrement stain on society, and now the reason another person is going to sleep feeling devalued and violated. I would love for you guys to check out Amy's work. She's a fantastic journalist and valuable contribution to MMA. Yeah, I agree with her. Make sure you guys follow her. X or Instagram, it's the same name, Photo Amy 33. She does do good work, and yeah, MMA Guru, piece of shit. But we're gonna get into the UFC picks now, guys. I just had to air that out there. So the first fight in the early prelims is Court McGee versus Tim Means. This is the battle of the old men. Oh, you know what? Let me take this this window down now. Now that we're done with that. But yeah, so this is the battle of the old men. Court McGee is 39. Tim Means is 40. Tim Means is 6'2" compared to Court McGee's 5'9". Court McGee does have a half-inch of reach advantage. Court McGee, I haven't been too impressed with lately. He's coming off of a decision loss to Alex Moreno. Before that, a knockout loss to Matt Brown. He hasn't won a fight since the beginning of 2022. He also got KO'd by Jeremiah Wells, so that's something to note. But let's get into Tim Means. Tim Means is coming off of a KO loss to Uros Medic. Before that, though, he KO'd Andre Fajilo. Before that, he lost to submission to Alex Moreno. So he's been kind of off and on. He lost my boy Max Griffin. He lost to Kevin Holland. So in that fight, I got Tim Means. ideally they both retire on the way to the octagon, but I got Tim Means in the meantime, in the interim. So let's get into the next fight. We have Carla Esparza versus Tisha Pennington. This is going to be Carla Esparza's last fight. I believe that she said she's retiring. So Tisha Pennington hasn't been really in it either because she had that kid with Raquel Pennington, and she's in mom mode. So I don't know if she's taken this camp as seriously. But Carla Esparza, I feel like she's training hard at being her last fight. I think she's going to want to go out there and put on a show. She does have a 2.5-inch reach advantage. They're both pretty good wrestlers. I have Carla Esparza. She's a 2-time champ. And hopefully UFC does right and actually sends her off the proper way, like how they did with a Karate Hottie and Robbie Lawler and whatnot. On to the main fight on the early prelims. It's Ryan Spann versus OSP. Neither have looked good lately. Obviously, OSP's 41. He does have an inch reach advantage, 2-inch disadvantage, though, in height. Ryan Spann is coming off of... who did he lose to? He got KO'd by Bogdan Guskov. And then 2023, he lost to Anthony Smith for the second time, and he got submitted by Nikita Krylov. He hasn't won a fight since 2022 when he knocked out Dominic Reyes. So it's not like he's looking hot. OSP is coming off of a decision win over Kennedy. I'm not going to say that last name. And before that, though, he got KO'd by Felipe Lins. So he's kind of been off and on. I just think the power and the size is going to be too much for him. I think Ryan Spann is going to handle him. But let's get into the next fight on the prelims. We have Cesar Almeida versus Ihor Pereira. A lot of people confuse Ihor with Putin. Not the same guy. Not even close to the same fighting style. The Ihor is kind of off and on. So Cesar Almeida, there's an inch reach advantage and an inch height advantage for Ihor, as well as a 8-year age gap. Ihor is 28, Cesar Almeida is 36. So Cesar's kind of at the tail end. He lost to Cesar Almeida. He lost to Roman Kopylov. Before that, he knocked out Dylan Budka. That's it. Those are his only 2 fights in the UFC so far. Ihor is coming off of a submission loss to Michel Pieta. Before that, he got KO'd by Rodolfo Bellato, and then KO'd by Carlos Olberg. Then before that, he KO'd Mauricio Shogun. So I got Ihor here. I think Ihor, there's just more on Ihor to go off of. So I got Ihor here. I think if I had to guess, it's middleweight. Someone's getting probably knocked out. So yeah, I got Ihor by TKO. Let's move into the next fight, though. We have Austin Hubbard versus Alexander Hernandez. Alexander Hernandez, there was a point where he kind of looked like the next big thing. I'm not sure what happened, but he's been kind of off and on. He has an inch reach advantage. Aside from that, they're virtually the same size, same age. He's coming off of a decision loss to Damon Jackson. Before that, he lost to Bill Algeo. Before that, he beat Jim Miller. So, not really the record you want to have, if you're trying to get close to a title. His opponent, though, Austin Hubbard, he's coming off of a decision victory to Michael Figlock. Before that, he got submitted by Kurt Holobroff. So, yeah. Next fight is Marina Rodriguez versus Iasmin. Oh, I have Alexander Hernandez on that last one, by the way. I think it's lightweight. They're probably both pretty well conditioned. I think it's going to go the distance. Next fight on the card, though, is Marina Rodriguez versus Iasmin Lucindo. Marina Rodriguez has kind of fought the who's who. There is a 15-year age gap here. Iasmin is 22. Marina Rodriguez is 37. There's a reach advantage for Iasmin. We'll go over Marina Rodriguez first. She's coming off of a decision loss to Jessica Andrade, which is nothing to really scoff at. Before that, she KO'd Michelle Watterson. Karate Hottie. Then she lost to Verna. Then she got KO'd by Amanda Lemos. And then she actually beat Jan, which fought Wheelie for a title. So, I mean, that's a pretty good win. Iasmin Lucindo, though, she doesn't have a lot of fights in the UFC. She beat Carolina. I'm not gonna say that last name. She beat her in a decision. Then she actually beat Pauliana Viana, Alex Pieda's ex, by submission, round 2. And before that, she beat Brogan Walker in a decision. I have Marina Rodriguez. I think that she's more accustomed to being under the bright lights. She does have a 3-inch height advantage. I just think that her cardio is going to be better. I think she's going to know what to expect more. She's probably going to be out there early enough to acclimate to the, to the elevation. So yeah, I got Marina Rodriguez. I think it's going to be a decision. The main fight in the prelims is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Joaquin Buckley. So we're talking an 11-year age gap. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's 41. He looks 30, but he's 41. He does have a 4-inch reach advantage or 4-inch height advantage. Joaquin Buckley, though, has an inch reach advantage on him. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is coming off of a submission loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov. Before that, he beat Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland broke his hand. Before that, he got beat by Bilal Muhammad and got beat by Gilbert Burns. So he struggles, especially lately, he's been struggling with grapplers. And Joaquin Buckley, he does have wrestling. So if he sticks to a game plan, he's coming off of a decision win over Nursultan Rozabiev. Yeah, some of these names, dude. Before that, he's coming off of a KO victory over Vicente Luque. In 2023, he beat Alex Moreno by decision, and he KO'd Andre Figuilo. So I think Joaquin Buckley's actually going to be smart. He's not going to try to stand with Wonderboy. We all know that's a mistake. So, yeah, I got Joaquin Buckley. I think he's going to use his grappling. I think if he's at least gonna wear Wonderboy out, then stand with him. I don't think he's just gonna stand with him right off the bat. So yeah, Joaquin Buckley. Main card, we have Ketlen Vieira versus Kayla Harrison. Kicking it off, I have Kayla Harrison by domestic abuse. I think she's gonna hold down Ketlen Vieira and she's gonna elbow the fuck out of her. I think she's gonna elbow her face in. She's gonna look like a completely different person. So, yep, I got Kayla Harrison in that one. Next is Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland. I've interviewed a few fighters, and a lot of them are picking Roman Dolidze. And I understand, he is bigger. He's coming off of a win over Anthony Smith at a higher weight class. I just like Kevin Holland, I like Kevin Holland, and I think if Kevin Holland can keep it on the feet, he can do it. So I'm going to take Kevin Holland here. I'm going to take Kevin Holland by TKO, though, because I don't think Kevin Holland can win the decision, especially at altitude. On the next fight, though, is Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. I have Jose Aldo here. He's the GOAT. It's hard to pick against him. He looked great in his comeback fight. So, yeah, Jose Aldo. Next is Raquel Pennington versus Julianna Peña. I freaking hate Julianna Peña. I can't stand her. She's annoying as fuck. She's cringe lord, more cringe than Henry Cejudo. So just based off that, I got Raquel Pennington. It doesn't matter though, because this belt is just going to be kept warm for Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison's going to get that belt. So let's get into the main fight on the card. It's Alex Peña versus Khalil Rountree Jr. I have Alex Peña by TKO. I like Khalil Rountree. I just don't think he can do. I don't think he can do anything. He's not a good wrestler, especially if you listen to like a Sean Strickland. He's got all right striking, but he's also got knocked out by Johnny Walker, and he got outdone by Johnny Walker, who doesn't have the greatest striking. He just has a lot of power with no chin. So I have Alex Peña. I think Alex Peña is going to get it done by TKO. I'd probably say round 2. So that's the UFC 307 preview. I am going to ask the fighters, so you're going to see what they say. But yeah, let's get into this. The first fighter we're going to interview is going to be my boy Ryan Parker, and that's going to be followed up by Jacob Romero. They are both fighting at LFA 196. I believe it was November 8th. Could be wrong, but I know it's in November. So make sure you check and get those dates right so you can tune in. I'll tag their Instagrams and editing. But yeah, enjoy. All right, guys, we are here with my buddy Ryan Parker.
What's good?
We got my man's here. He's fighting at LFA 196.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Yeah, dude. So I'm excited. You know, I've been waiting for your return now. Yeah. Sadly, you know, there something happened. I don't know if you want to get into that on here, but something happened, and the inevitable return didn't get to take place as quickly as I'd like.
Yeah. It was just issues with commissions. So from my previous fight I had back for Peak Fighting Championship, where I fought John King for the light heavyweight strap. After that fight, I suffered some injuries, a broken nose, and Texas ended up putting me on an indefinite suspension until I went to the doctor and got it cleared. I went and did everything, and just never send in the paperwork to them, not knowing if my next fight was in Texas and if it would matter. So yeah, we went to go and do the next fight, which was in Lake Charles, Louisiana, I believe it was. And so crossing over the state lines, we didn't realize that having that indefinite suspension in Texas was going to prohibit us from getting our license in Louisiana. And then so we got on the ball, sent our paperwork in, but it was just last minute, so they didn't get it cleared off in time. But everything's all good now. I spoke to the commission. I spoke to the guy in charge. We're all good. We're all set. And that's what brings us here today, LFA 196, November 8th in Phoenix.
I love it, dude. So, you know, I personally kind of have a bad taste in my mouth with LFA. I've interviewed a few fighters I fought on the LFA cards, and one thing I don't like about them is like the prelim status. You know, they say they're going to air the prelims on YouTube, and then they just air old fights. So I'm assuming your fight's on the main card, right?
That's what I've been told. Me and my opponent, Alec Lorenz, we're going to be on the main card. So, we've dealt with that as well. My good friend and training partner, Pereira, he fought on LFA. I believe it was last year, and it was the same thing. You know, they bigged him up and hyped him up that, you know, your fight's going to be able to be viewed, and then, you know, they didn't air the actual, or they didn't air the first few fights from the prelims. It's one of those situations where, like, you know, because LFA is one of the premier promotions. You know, once you start to fight up there, you're really excited because you're like, a lot of eyes are going to see me, a lot of people are going to get to see my fight, and then, you know, when it just turns out that your fight's not going to get aired, it's kind of like, oh man, bummer. So, but it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah. Well, it just sucks for me because, you know, I like to tune into the people's fights that I'm interviewing, you know, see how they did. That way I know if it's a touchy subject to touch on certain things.
Yeah.
And then when I can't watch the fight, it's like, what the fuck is going on right now? But
I'm going in blind.
yeah, exactly. But, you know, I want to get in on your upcoming fight. Alec Lorenz?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So he's got a reputation for being tough and a durable fighter. How do you plan on breaking him down in this fight?
Yeah, I've seen that. We've actually we were matched up a year ago. My first fight on Fury FC was supposed to be against Alec Lorenz. Unfortunately, a couple weeks before the fight, he suffered a broken nose, and I had to pull out of our fight, and so we got a replacement fighter. So since then, I see growth in him. I see you know, a lot more poise, a lot more confidence in what he's doing. He's strung together a few wins on some veteran guys. I think the biggest thing for us to do is come out there, dictate the pace. Like you said, he's tough. He's willing to be in a dogfight. But there are openings, there are opportunities there to capitalize on some of the things that he does that I think will make him struggle with. So it's just coming in, being ready to fight a complete mixed martial arts fight, as I always say. At the level that I'm at now, you know, I'm LFA, all these promotions, Peak, Fury, they're right there on the cusp of like breaking into that upper echelon. So looking at any fight that I have now, really like my game plan is always come in and just be a complete mixed martial artist, be ready to take the fight wherever and dominate wherever. So that's what we're doing tonight. as you see, it's 10:30. It's 10:13 for me. So this is one of our late nights once we get the camp started. Have 2-3 practices back to back, and then can stay back for some sparring, some technical sparring, and other work like that. So, we're already on the grind, getting ready to do what we got to go out there and do.
Yeah, dude, and obviously, I can't wait to see all this hard work pay off, man. But Lawrence, he's got a reputation for being a fast starter. He's got some first round finishes and whatnot. Are you preparing for that initial burst of energy coming at you as soon as the bell rings?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. He's an forward guy. He's an aggressive guy. He has a very good sharp two that he believes in, and he's going to go out there and he's going to put it on you, and he's going to put it on you early. So you got to do something to earn his respect early, and that's what we're working on now. We're sharpening up our tools to try to neutralize the areas that he's good at and amplify the areas that we're good at. So we're going to be ready. He needs to be prepared for a full fight. He's gotten a few first round finishes, I believe, in his last couple fights. He needs to be ready to go the distance. He needs to be ready to push hard for 15 minutes because that's what we're coming out there to do.
Oh yeah, dude. Well, I'm a fat guy, so I got to get right into this question. I know you're cutting weight. You're getting ready to go weigh in and everything. What's going to be your meal of choice as soon as you step off that scale?
Oh man, I love to go and get like a tall stack of pancakes, man. Some maybe like an omelet and some hash browns. Just carb up, just fuel back up, put that weight back on. So that's usually our first meal. If not that, we'll go somewhere. I like to get like a nice piece of salmon, some steamed broccoli, maybe some rice, something just like I really want to put it back on and put that clean fuel back in me, start to rehydrate, refuel back up, and get ready for that next day. So we have options. But we definitely eat after weigh-ins,
Hell yeah, man. So I'm assuming LFA, they're kind of like UFC in the fact of the weigh-ins like 24 hours before the fight.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, you got 24 hours to regain all your weight. You get to pull that Alex Poton Pieta effect.
Yeah. So we're gonna try to, I like but for me, where I've gotten to, I used to do the huge weight cuts where you're trying to blow back up, but I feel like over the years I started realizing I have better performances when I get my weight down to a manageable weight. So I'm floating pretty close to to that weight, fight weight, 205, 206. I'm right above 220. And this is a good place for me. I feel energized. I feel strong when I'm training, but I don't feel depleted, and that allows me to get sharp, strong, hard, efficient training in. And I think over just the history of my fights, I think I do better when I keep my weight down and I'm not coming from a 235 or 230. When I keep it at that 225, maybe 228 at the most, I feel just my camp is a lot smoother. So I'm excited to see, how much harder I'm able to push this camp, being on those marks and being where I need to be at.
Yeah, man. So, we got UFC 307 coming up this weekend. I want to run through the main card. I want to get some of your picks on this.
Okay.
So the first fight on the main card is Ketlen Vieira versus Kayla Harrison. I'm assuming we're going with the man in the fight here. I got Kayla Harrison by domestic abuse. So
I don't think anybody really ready for the power and the domination she brings to that weight class, man. I think she's about to make a really good run. I don't think she's really going to see any real challenges until she gets to that top 5 of the division. That's where we're starting to really see, how good she is, because we know she's good. We know she's coming in with that great judo background, domination, but I want to see her against the upper echelon. That's what we brought her over to the UFC for. So I'm waiting to see those. I think she gets a dominant win, maybe even a finish.
Well, I mean, Ketlen Vieira is number 3, so this is pretty up there. After this, it's title fight.
That's what I'm saying. So, okay. Well, I'm excited.
Did you happen to catch any of the press conference?
Not yet. I want to look. I want to catch it, and I usually try to wait till a couple of days before and kind of just binge watch it all and just catch up on everybody and see where we're at.
There was one line Kayla said. It was to Julianna Peña. She said that she has more wins than Julianna Peña has fights.
Man,
and then She also said she was going to crush Ketlen's skull with elbows.
Both are very factual statements and can very much happen. You know, she's just a beast. She's just a
Yeah,
beast.
you know, I think Ketlen Vieira is going to look a little bit like John Jones' wife after that fight, but let's get into the next fight, though. Yeah.
That video when it came on and he kissed her on the forehead, it was like, all right, blink twice,
Yep.
you need help. You know?
Exactly. That's gonna be Ketlen Vieira, man.
Oh, yeah.
But so the next one is Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland.
Dolidze is tough, man. Dolidze is tough. Kevin Holland's tricky though, but I think I lean toward Roman Dolidze. I think he's kind of on a roll right now. He's had some good wins in the past few fights, and Kevin Holland at 85. I just feel like he's small and he struggles with those bigger guys that are like very forward pressure, like, you know what I mean. So I'll lean to Roman Dolidze.
Yeah, you know, I like Kevin Holland at 170 better. I don't know. I wish he would stop doing this bouncing back and forth stuff.
I get it. It's like more opportunities to get in there, but I think his best fights and his best performances are at 170. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that moves us to the next fight: Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista.
Batista's tough, and I still think Jose Aldo is the greatest featherweight of all time. You know, so I understand he lost to Max. I understand he lost to Volk, but until you touch his title run record, until you break those records that he set, I'm not just calling you, you know what I mean, the greatest featherweight. So I love Jose Aldo. I love this resurgence he's had, like where he's still fighting and he's still competing with some of the best. But Mario Batista's tough. What is he, like 15-1, 16-1, something like that?
14-2.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, real high level guy. You know what I'm saying? Hasn't taken too many losses. I think if it goes down the stretch, I think I'll lean Mario, just because, you know, Jose does have a tendency to kind of slow down in the later rounds, and Mario's sharp.
Yeah, and especially this being at elevation, that's definitely going to come into play if it, you know, goes the stretch.
Exactly. So,
well, let's get into the official P break of the card. Okay. Raquel Pennington versus Julianna Peña. You know, I'm sure you're like everyone else. You don't like Julianna Peña; she's insufferable. Yeah. But don't let that affect your pick.
I think, you know, Raquel Pennington, you know, saying she's a good fighter, you know, champ. But I think Julianna is, you know, there's not too many girls in that division that can really give her a hard time. So I lean toward her getting that belt back. But Raquel is an imposing woman in there. So, you know, if she can stand her ground, she can kind of keep Julianna from being able to go forward like she likes to go. I think it could be an interesting fight, but I'm gonna definitely lean Julianna.
Yeah, you know, and the question is, for me at least, is ring rust going to come into play here? Because Julianna Peña hasn't fought since she got dominated by Nunes.
Yeah, it for sure can. Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, whoever wins, they're really just keeping the belt warm for Kayla Harrison in my mind.
I would Julianna Kayla though. I just feel like the trash talking that is going to be, you know, it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Well, wait till you tune into the press conference. You'll see they went back and forth. It was fun.
And that's what I think. That's what I already know with those two. So.
Yeah, but Raquel Pennington did have a pretty good line. She told Julianna Peña she's like a yapping chihuahua. But let's get into the main event, your weight class. Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree.
Hey man, I like Rountree. You know, I think he's a freaking animal out there. Like, so he has some of the most vicious, you know, striking that we see, and he's just a pure animal. He's out there to really do harm to you. With all that said, I just think Pereira, if your best trait is striking, I just think it's just such a rough fight to go out there and try to strike with Pereira. And he says that he's going to keep it on the feet. So I'm like, if that's the case and he does, I see Pereira getting him out of there in maybe 2 and 3. Like, everyone's saying, you know, Khalil has been beating people. Like, I don't know, people like that Anthony Smith fight that he had last. He was getting touched a little bit in there. Like, you know, it was it was back and forth. He even looked like he was kind of fatiguing a little bit, and then he landed some good shots that put Anthony out of there. So it's just Poatan is like you can't allow him to hit you. So if that's gonna be what you're coming in, hoping that you can get in there, make it a dog fight, you can take punishment and keep coming forward. I see you getting put out. So I'll go Poatan, maybe round 2, round 3, KO.
Yeah, I'm siding with Poatan also. I don't know. I feel like Khalil might shoot, though, because Poatan made a comment. It was like a bet saying if you shoot, you have to donate part of your purse to charity.
Yeah.
And Rountree came out and he's like, well, I won't bet on it. He's like, I'll just donate part of my purse.
Yeah.
So that kind of tells me, like, if he gets tagged, he might shoot. But if you listen to Strickland, he can't wrestle for shit. So
I was about to say, that's the thing. Like, I feel like it's such a tough fight with Pereira because, you come in and if you're not a traditional wrestler, and this is what everybody's saying the path to victory is, but now you're going out there doing something that's not per se you and your style. So, wrestling is, I'm a wrestler at base myself. I wrestled in high school, had some opportunities to wrestle in college and things like that. So, wrestling and grappling is really my base, what I built my style on. And over time, I've, added my striking and everything like that. So, doing that and doing that grappling like that is tiring. And it takes a certain level of preparation to be able to do that and be able to still go back and forth between the striking exchanges. If you lose control and you get back on the feet and now get back on the ground and finding those openings to safely get your takedowns and efficiently get your takedowns. So if it's not your natural game, I just think you're even in, it's going to be an even rougher fight because now you're doing something that's not particularly what you do. Khalil Rountree walks forward and he just brings violence to you. And, Pereira is going to be waiting right there to drop that left hook on you.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. When they faced off, dude, Alex is just so much bigger. It's night and day. It's insane.
It's like he's just for this weight class, 185, 205. Like he was just such a figure that just like, man, he's gonna give trouble to everybody, and he has that ultimate equalizer and that power. Like, yeah, you might be able to, force him against the cage. Yeah, you might be able to take him out. But if you're wrong for 1 second and you let him get that thing off, lights out.
Yeah, I mean, do what?
When he first came back, I was offered a chance to fight him, but it was in COVID.
Oh, shit.
It was for LFA? I think it was I was supposed to be on LFA back then. It was when he fought the guy Thomas Powell and got that hook knockout. I got the offer, but it was only on like 2.5 weeks notice. And I'm like, you don't take a guy like that on 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, fuck that. You're not getting shabbat on.
The world was shut down. We didn't have any, I didn't really have anywhere to train consistently. I couldn't get my partners in just because of, the social distancing rules. So it just wasn't a good time to try to do it. But, I look back all the time, like I think and the 205 and 185 pound divisions have changed over the last few years. I think of maybe like 5-10 years ago, like when it was the DC John Jones era, you saw there was more like pure wrestlers. And I think in the division back then like that, I think Pereira would struggle a little more with guys who could take shots. Nobody really today that he's fighting can take shots on him. You know what I mean? I'm not saying nobody has, like Jan took shots on him, but Jan, again, isn't a wrestler. So it's like, if that's not something you came up doing, like a DC who's been wrestling since he's a kid, or John Jones, some of these other guys. I think Paul Craig is another guy that would be a good fight for him if he can get past the hands, just because.
Bo Nickel,
that was a fight. Hamzat. These are fights that I think would be very interesting to just see how good Pereira's MMA game is. We know his striking is phenomenal. We know he has that equalizer, but if he can stop those guys and still implement his game, then that would man. You might have to you have to put him in that GOAT talk. You might really have to put him in that GOAT talk because he's already on a crazy run right now. He gets a couple of wrestlers in there and stuffs them and shows like it ain't just come out here and take me down. You know what I mean? He's doing some things that we haven't seen before. So I'm going Pereira all the way. Second or third round KO, left hook.
Yeah, my ideal situation is obviously John Jones and Stipe. More than likely, they're both going to retire when they fight. That leaves Aspinall to assume the championship.
Yep.
Pereira's already talked about moving up. Once he beats Rountree, that's the mega fight. Aspinall versus Pereira. I got Aspinall on that because Aspinall, in my opinion, is better everywhere, but that'd be a banger.
It would, but and you know, it would be interesting because it's like you finally got somebody, like you just said, like we looking at all these fights where he's, you know, even Izzy, you know, Izzy's tall, but you could see frame wise, he made Izzy look like a smaller man, you know. Yuri was really the first guy that was his size, but I knew Yuri, like I said, if you get hit, if you're a guy that usually gets hit and you're winning off of your durability, that's not going to be a good mix against Pereira, just because you can't take that hook, like that hook specifically. But he has so many other weapons. We just talk about the hook because that's his little cherry on top. Whenever he's ready to get you out of there, he throws that left hook and it's lights out.
Yeah, that already hit you with when he hit Pieta with that left high kick.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Yeah, what he hit Yuri with. But that was because, you know, forcing him away from that left hook. You know, forcing him away from that left hook. He's dropping those hands for that calf kick. And that calf kick, you know, no one's found the answer for that. Like he gets in there first round and immediately damages one of your wheels. So now you're kind of forced to stand in front of him. You know, and it's crazy how efficient he is with that technique. I just think he has so many weapons to break Khalil down, you know. But I want to see Khalil come forward. Don't be afraid. Go out there, balls to the wall. It's like, hey, I'm going to put it on the line because that's going to be an entertaining fight for as long as it lasts.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know, we're getting close to the time, so I got two more questions for you. So, ideal situation, you know, you get in there, you get that dub, you don't take much damage. How long do you want to wait till you get your next fight in? And also, do you have a multi-fight deal with LFA, or is this just a single fight?
So I would love to get back in there one more time before the year is over. So I know LFA, they've already talked to my manager. They said they have a few shows in December. So that's a possibility as well. This will be a single fight contract right now because I am still currently signed with Peak for a multi-fight deal. So I do have 2 more fights there. So we talked to them before this fight got booked. And they said that they have something in December that, you know, if I'm ready, if I'm good, they'll be willing to find me a matchup there. So I definitely want to try to get one more in. Like I said, you know, perfect world, come out of this with no serious injuries, you know, take a week off and then get right back into training and try to finish the year with one. And then we can start the year off trying to you know, stay on this stage that we're at, whether it's another Peak fight, maybe get back to the belt, or I would love to stay on LFA because, you know, that's the Premier League, man. That's the path to the big league. So that's what we're trying to do, man. We're chasing it hard. We're going after it, and we're trying to be ready. So
yeah, man. Well, we'll leave it off at this last question. So put on your Mystic Mac cap. How do you finish this fight? How do you get him out of here? How do you see the fight going?
Okay. Like I said, we've seen some things that we're going to try to key on, and just from the footage I've seen, there are opportunities to really. I go out to finish. You know, I go out to finish. I go out to get a dominant win, leave no doubt behind it. So, you know, that means it's me or him. You know, so I'm going out to finish him, just like I know he's coming out there to finish me. So I believe, you know, second, third round KO, especially because he hasn't had much experience past that first round, past that initial burst of him coming out and trying to get on you early. And I think I'm seeing things that I can really exploit and capitalize on. And once I get him hurt, I'm going to get him out of there. So second or third round TKO, KO is what I'm predicting and what I'm looking for.
I love it, dude. Well, hey, man, stick around for just a second after. You're almost done uploading, but I appreciate your time. I can't wait to see you fight. I'm definitely rooting for you. I'll be tuning in to it's LFA 196, and what's the exact date?
November 8th in Phoenix, Arizona.
Beautiful. Yep. If you guys don't already know, I'll tag his Instagram, follow him on Instagram, stay up to date with the bands. And yeah, thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me on. Always.
All right. We are here with Jacob Urkel Romero. I'm curious, how do you get the nickname Urkel?
I've always been just a small nerdy kid my whole life, and one of my old coaches about like 10 years ago actually gave me the name. We were unpacking for a fight, and we're getting into the motel, and we rented a hatchback. And as he was sticking his head out, I closed the the hatch too early on him and bumped him on his head, and he freaked out. And I just said, "Did I do that?" And that's how I kind of got the name.
That's awesome, dude. So I know I'm going to butcher your opponent's last name wrong. Chance Ike? Ike?
IKEA? I think I'm barely figuring out his name recently.
So what do you see as chances? What are his major strengths, his major weaknesses, and how do you plan to approach this fight?
I mean, ever since I was 15 years old, my coaches have always like kind of refrained me from digging into my opponents, and I've always kind of stuck with that because it's been good for my mental. You know, it's less anxiety on my end, and I just put all my faith in my coaches. I let them do all the work. I let them do the research. I have them come up with a game plan, and I follow every single step to that game plan, and it always works out in the end. I mean, yeah, I obviously know the guy's name. I know a little bit about him, but yeah, I mean, just for my sake of clarity, I kind of just refrain from digging too deep into my opponents. You know, it gives me, a little bit off the edge, and, I can train more fluently that way.
That's awesome, man. How many times a day are you training right now?
5 days a week. I'm training. Well, I work graveyard, so typically if I work from 11 to 11 or 11 to 7, sleep right after work, get up at 5, go straight to the gym for 3 hours, and then go home and start work again.
Yeah, I hear you. The work life. I'm a contractor myself, so I'm balancing that and doing the podcast. Definitely gets overwhelming when you got, other stuff going on. So you're going to be on LFA 196, right? What
Yes, sir.
gym are you training at?
Mercenary Combat Academy out here in Tri-Cities, Washington.
Okay, so you train with Alan Pellegrini, Devin Jackson.
Yep, those are my teammates.
Okay, who's your main training partner helping you prepare for this upcoming battle?
DJ was my training partner, but he's taking a different camp. But we have plenty of guys in my gym that are my size, and we have a pretty big fight team. And typically, I train with the guys who are closer to my size. And, I'm from a different generation of fighters. I'm 28 years old, and I've been fighting since I was 14, 15 years old. So I've always been the little guy in the room. So I'm not afraid to train with people bigger than me, because that's kind of like how it's always been for me, kind of like my whole fighting career. So typically, if I'm not training with someone my size, it's someone like 45 pounds and up, but, I'm kind of used to it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, what's the main disadvantage with training someone bigger than you? I mean, they're going to give you more of a challenge on the ground, right? I'm assuming it's probably just mostly a speed difference. What's really the disadvantage there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the speed and, size difference, because, I could train with someone who's like 170, 160, 145, but, people in my weight class, they're super fast, they're agile, they're quick, but when I'm training with people bigger than me, they're applying way more pressure, a lot more strength. So if I can do well with people bigger than me, I feel like I would have no problem with people my size.
Yeah, that's like a big problem with, smaller people in the sport. They have to train with these big heavyweights, and then the smaller people fire, way more agile, way more faster. And that's what the big difference is, I'm assuming. I've always wondered, is it kind of the same with 135ers and 125ers? I imagine it's hard to find someone consistent that's your size.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, if they're in the room, that's great. But if they're not, I mean, it's not a difference to me. I'm still getting work in regardless.
Yeah, well, a little off topic. Are you watching UFC 307 this weekend?
Yeah, that should be the plan this weekend. There's going to be a bunch of good fights.
Okay. I want to run by you a few of the fights on the main card, get your picks. Let me just pull up the fight card real quick. So we'll just do the main card, just keep that part short. So first fight of the night is Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland. Who do you got?
Man, I'm a Trailblazer fan. I mean, yeah, I like his attitude. I like his charisma, and, he kind of pulls in a lot of people that way. So, I mean, I got to go with Holland on this one.
Yeah, man, I'm a big Kevin Holland fan too. I'm just worried if, the altitude of Salt Lake City, if it's going to affect him at all.
Right. I mean, I fought in Denver before, and the Mile High City, I didn't feel much of a difference. Cardio still felt the same. I mean, if you're not, too familiar with high altitude, it might kind of be an issue. But I guess everyone's body is different at that point.
Yeah, I just always heard like, the UFC fighters, they like to get out there 2 weeks to a month early, let the body acclimate. But
Right.
I don't know. My cardio is bad regardless. So I don't think that matters if I'm underwater or above. So next fight, we have Kayla Harrison versus Ketlen Vieira. I'm assuming you got Kayla Harrison.
Kayla Harrison, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of her. I'm just not.
I'm not a big fan either, but we're talking like a legal,
So the thing is that I really don't like about Kayla Harrison is just that she's been calling out Cyborg her whole career. She's been calling out everyone else her whole career. When she was about to fight Cyborg when PFL and Bellator merged, so they were gonna force her to fight Cyborg regardless, and then she dips to the UFC after Amanda retires, after calling Amanda out her whole career. So it's just like you're jumping into the UFC when there's no, I wouldn't say there's no high level competition, but the main people are gone. So you're just running through people to the top at this point. Like, you had your opportunity to back up what you said about Cyborg. You dipped when you were about to fight her, and then you jumped to the UFC after Amanda retires. So it's just like, I don't know. She just has like a bad taste in my mouth because you talk all that, then when you finally get the opportunity, you back out. So, I mean, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan either, but I'll tell you who I dislike more. She's on the co-main, but we'll save that for what's coming up. Next, we have Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista.
Gotta go with Aldo, man. It's one of my heroes growing up.
Dude, that's my argument too. Yeah, Mario's younger and everything, but it's Jose Aldo,
I mean, he was the best in the world for at least a decade, and like he still has, like, when he jumped down weight classes, like he actually been pretty good, like he was in great shape, cardio's good, and he still hits like a truck.
Yeah, man, I forgot what fight it was. I think it was before he retired. He brought out that slick Muay Thai, and he was going to the body, landing those leg kicks, just destroying the guy's leg. Can't remember who it was, but we'll just get on the next fight. Raquel Pennington versus Julianna Peña.
Man, I mean, I feel like Peña's gonna run through her.
Feel that too. If there's anyone I dislike more than Kayla Harrison, though, it's Julianna Peña. About, I think it's really because of when Amanda Nunes retired, she was sitting there like a crybaby.
Yeah, I mean, I've met Peña like early on in my career. Since I live in Tri-Cities, it's only about 2 hours away from Sick Jitsu, and that's when Rick Little. I'm not sure if that's still her main coach or not, but I would go up there, train with Mike Chiesa, Sam Cecilia, Peña from time to time. They were all really good people at that time. But people change over the years. Mindsets get a little different when you get more exposure and get deeper into the fight game, but I just feel like if she kept the same attitude as she did for Ultimate Fighter Peña, I feel like she would be more likable to the audience.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. It's the altitude. If she didn't have the attitude, I would be a fan of her, because she's exciting, but I don't know, man. I'm kind of just over her. Next one though, Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree.
Man, look, Rountree is good. I love his backstory. I mean, if he beats Pereira, that would be just an amazing story on its own. Coming up from a rough childhood, a lot of trauma, and it would be a good, it would be a good way to solidify his career. But I don't know, man. I mean, Pereira just has them hands and has that range, and he's just too scary on the feet. You got to take him down.
Yeah, and I mean, Khalil's never tried to take anyone down in his UFC career. And if you listen to Sean Strickland, Khalil Rountree is a terrible wrestler. But I mean, it's hard to trust Sean Strickland. Let's see. So What's been the biggest challenge so far that you faced in your personal MMA career, and how did you overcome it?
Um, Before I turned pro when I was 20 years old, I was the #1 amateur flyweight on my side of the country. You know, beat everyone, attained every belt you could get. You know, the 2-time amateur world champion. I would say when I turned pro at a young age, I didn't have an adult mindset at the time. You know, and that kind of held me back. You know, I was super young. I was getting, all these belts. I was on a really big winning streak, and I kind of let it get to my head when I was at a young age. And, you know, I had a lot of people who had a lot of faith in me at the time. And I just wasn't mature for a 20-year-old with that kind of, you know, potential in his hands. And I felt like that was my biggest issue growing up. And I lost my pro debut when, you know, should have been a fight that I won. But I just froze out there, you know. The pros are completely different from an amateur. It's a completely different scene. And, you know, it's way more dangerous, obviously. You're not using shin guards. You're getting knees and elbows to the head, you know. And I kind of wasn't listening to my coaches at a young age. You know, I was young and I was arrogant. You know, I was 20 years old, you know, 2-time amateur world champion, moving on to the pros with a lot of people, you know, on his side. And, you know, young and arrogant and not listening to his coaches, wasn't eating right. Turned 21, started drinking and just went kind of, yeah. Like I turned pro before I could even drink. And, you know, I just kind of went on a little bit of a downward spiral, I would say, you know, from switching gyms, not listening to my coaches, doing things my way. And that kind of like I was setting myself up for failure. You know, if I would have listened to my coaches, if I would have just stayed on track and, you know, did all the things right as I was doing when I was amateur, I would have been in the UFC a long time ago, but I kind of set myself back. And, you know, luckily I'm still super young and I was able to get back on track and get my career back going in the right direction. And I'm just thankful for that.
Yeah, that's good, man. I mean, you are young. You're 28, so I hope you consider that young because I'm 30. So if you consider yourself all right, I'm ancient. Do you
I'm
have
trying to
any?
convince myself. That's the thing.
Do you have any fight day rituals? You know, fight rituals, pre-fight rituals.
I just like praying before a fight. As soon as I get into the cage, pray. You know, I look out to my mom in the crowd, blow her a kiss, and it's fight time.
Okay, so I think we'll leave it here with the last question. You know what are you doing outside of fighting?
I mean, I've been skateboarding since I was like 9 or 10. And, you know, my coaches have always told me growing up, like, find something outside of fighting that brings you happiness. Because if you just focus on fighting all the time, you're going to be miserable. And it's true. Because when I just devoted myself to fighting, it's almost felt like I was forcing myself to do it. And when you start forcing yourself to do things, you don't enjoy it. You know, like I love fighting, you know, I love everything about it, but I don't like forcing myself to fight and stuff because then I'm not enjoying fighting at that point. It just feels like a job, you know. And when you have a job that you enjoy doing, you put more effort into it and you actually like doing it more. So I've been skateboarding since I was a young kid. You know, I get to travel, I film. You know, I got sponsored by a skate shop here in town recently, about a couple years ago. You know, so I've met a bunch of friends throughout the skateboarding community and, you know, they all support my fighting and just been doing that, traveling to different parks, camping, finding DIY skate parks and forests. Like some of my best friends to this day I met through skateboarding and, you know, I'm glad to have them in my life.
That's awesome, dude. I was never very good at skateboarding. I think I attempted an ollie one time and fell off and I was like, fuck this shit. You know what I mean? You know, actually, I have one more question. How do you predict you're going to get this dub?
Just a lot of faith in myself and, you know, everyone that's backing me on this. You know, I just take everything into consideration, you know, because at the end of the day, I'm in control of my future. And if I'm doing everything that I need to be doing, if I'm listening to my coaches, to my family, if I'm eating right, training right, and if my mental's right, then there's nothing that can stop me. Because that's the thing that I had a lot of problems with in the past is when I was on a losing streak, I wasn't believing in myself. I stopped believing in myself. I wasn't confident anymore. And when you're fighting yourself before the fight, you're going to lose every time. You have to be in a winning mindset before you get out to the cage. And if you don't have that, you're just going to lose every single time.
Do you have like one of those Mystic Mac moments? Do you see, like, are you going to finish him?
I mean, the last couple guys, I honestly thought it was going to be a grappling match, but they ended up both getting finished in under a minute. And, you know, I mean, everyone thinks I'm a striker, but I'm a grappler. I have an NBD submission under my belt. Only guy to pull off one of Eddie Bravo's signature moves as an amateur and a pro. Like, people think I like striking, but I'm actually a grappler. And, you know, I mean, I'm very versatile on the ground and feet. So whatever happens, happens. If I sub them, that'd be great. If I knock them out, that'd be even better.
Yeah, man. I mean, everyone probably thinks you're a striker because you train at Mercenary Combat and you train with so many high-level strikers, you know?
Yeah.
Once you told me Mercenary Combat, I automatically assumed that we were dealing with a guy who's done Muay Thai for a very long period of time.
Yeah, I mean, my very first gym, when I very first started, they taught nothing but 10 planet technique. So my whole entire childhood up until I was about like 18, 19 was just all strictly 10 planet background. So majority of my wins have been by submissions. It was rare in my amateur career where I would actually TKO or knock people out. But if I wasn't finishing you on the feet, I was subbing you on the ground. And that's kind of how it's been so far. I mean, my pro career, got one NBD sub and the rest have been knockouts. So I just want to keep it going.
That's awesome, dude. Well, man, I'm going to tune into LFA. I'm looking forward to it. We have another fighter that your manager manages on the same episode, Ryan Parker. I don't know if you had the chance to meet him yet. He's a super cool guy.
Yeah,
But yeah, he's fighting. I want to say he's fighting for the title. I think middleweight. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'll definitely be tuning in, man. I'm rooting for you. Thanks
Appreciate
for coming on and doing this.
yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
Awesome.